Okay, we're going to start today on the bottom line of 42b. Membez, Amid Bez. Take Hashem the table to learn Torah every day. Supposed to be learning, we should have this English. Immediately learning Lili Nishmas, called the Basra Daf, sons have been seen. Also, unfortunately, we haven't David Ben Sarah and Gedalia Gatzalel Yasmin. Okay. We had a statement from Shmuel early up on the page. It said, Damar Shmuel follows his reasoning because Shmuel says that partners should they can create a chazaka one on another. They can even testify that the property belongs to each other. And they can become shemer sachar one on another. Well, the Gemara now challenges the second point of this. What do you mean that they can? It says that they can testify one for another. It means there's two partners, all right? Reuven and Shimon are partners, and someone comes in and says that field doesn't belong to you, it belongs to me. So Reuven can testify that no, it belongs to Shimon. At least the part of Shimon that's Shimon's, he can testify on that. Gemara asks, but they're Nagir Beidus. Now, the way the Gemara is putting this would be in an example of, let's say, they're going to divide it later. So if this guy, this Levi shows up, right? Reuven and Shimon are the partners. Levi shows up and says that that field is mine, or part of it is mine, or whatever. So then when Reuven and Shimon divide it, they have less property to divide. They're going to end up with less. So when he says, when Reuven says that it belongs to Shimon, he has to join someone else, Yisachar. That's an aid that it belongs to Shimon. So now Reuven joins up with Yisachar to testify that it belongs to Shimon. So he's actually himself gaining, because when they're going to later divide it, he's going to get the larger portion because he has more area. So how is he allowed to testify? It's totally biased. Well, Achmayaskin and the Gemara answers for a special case over here. You're right. Normally that would be problematic, but the case over here is the Kasala Dina Dvar mainly al Sadazu. The way he does this is he separates himself from the field. He says, I have nothing to do with this partnership. I'm out of this partnership. Oh, now you're not. Yeah, now you're out of the partnership. So now you're not relevant anymore. You're not negeya. You're not biased because you're not going to gain anything from it belonging to Shimon because you're out of it. So he's allowed to join. Reuven would be allowed to join Yisachar in testifying against this outside person, Levi, that the property belongs to Shimon. The Gemara asks a question. It challenges this. 1 second. He wrote that I don't have anything to do with this partnership. Gemara says, is that how you get out of a partnership? You write that I'm out of here? It says, V'atani, but we have a brisa that says it doesn't work like that. If someone tells to his friend, if someone uses one of these three expressions, I have nothing with this field, I have no business with it, my hands are removed from it, that's not counted. You can't get out of a partnership by just saying I'm out of here. You have to actually give it to somebody. Sometimes people are stuck with maybe contraband or something, and they say, okay, it's not mine. Well, it doesn't really work. It's yours until it's someone else's. So you're gonna say it's not mine. So here he's in a partnership. He says, I'm out of here. So, but whose is it? You didn't give it to anyone. You can't just get out of it by just saying I'm out of here. So Gemara answers that, well, that's not a big problem. We're talking about that they made a kinyan, and the partners, they actually gave it to him. 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 And the partners goes to the other person, and now the first partner can now testify. That's what we're trying to get it, that it should belong to Shimon, and Reuven would be able to testify. The problem is Shmuel said this in a very general way, and now we just limited it to a very specific case. Shmuel says partners can testify one for another. We said, really? That sounds problematic. She said, well, it's only in one specific case where the partner said that he's not part of it. Oh, he said that's going to work. He said, no, it's when he made the kinyan with it. So it's getting more and more doichik, it gets more and more squeezed. What the possible scenario is for this halacha would be applicable. Okay, so the Gemara now says, and even if he made a kinyan, that the property doesn't belong to him and it belongs to Shimon. 1 second. When he does that, he's allowing let's say Reuven had a creditor, and Reuven doesn't have any money to pay the creditor. And he has this field that's in partnership with Shimon, but it's being contested by Levi. So what he does is he quickly gives his field to Shimon, and that way the creditor can take the field from Shimon. Because once there's a field that used to belong to Reuven and now belongs to Shimon, if the loan was before that he owned that, so in other words, if he owned the field before the loan took place, then that would be there would be a lien on the field. So the Gemara is asking, it says 1 second, even if he gives it to Shimon outright with a kinyan, so but he's actually setting this up so that the creditor can take it. And when he testifies for Shimon, the problem is not that he gives it to Shimon. He can do any sale that he wants. The problem is, how can you trust him that the property now belongs to Shimon? Because now that's a bias claim, because what's the bias? Is that even though he's not getting it back, but his creditor is getting it, and that's what he wants. He wants to be able to pay up his debt. And if Levi comes in and takes the field away from Shimon, then he hasn't paid up his debt. But if the creditor comes in and takes it, so then he has paid out. But how does he get it to belong to Shimon? He has to testify. So now that he's testifying, he's biased because something's going to come out of this which benefits him. Damar Ravin bar Shmuel, Mishmei de Shmuel. This was a statement from Ravin bar Shmuel in the name of Shmuel, probably his father. I thought Shmuel didn't have any sons. Maybe it's a different Shmuel. That's the father of Ravin. Says someone sells a field to his friend without any guarantee. Yeah, there's no biography there, is it? No. Okay. Someone sells a field to his friend. He can't testify about it. Because by him testifying, it's becoming available for the balchoiv, for the creditor to come and collect it. So we have a problem over here that when he testifies, when he gives it to the partner, and then he testifies that it belongs to him, so that testifying is biased because the creditor can now collect it. That's the problem. My answer is, well, it's not really biased because he's gonna after the field gets taken away from Shimon, Shimon comes back to him to collect the money. So whether the field belongs to Shimon, but by him testifying that the field belongs to Shimon, he doesn't actually gain anything because Shimon's anyway is going to come back to him to collect the money for the field that was just confiscated.
That's in their deal.
That's in the deal. There was a chrayas on it.
You go either buy from the creditor or from
directly from him. Yeah, so he's not really gaining by the field going to Shimon. The other question was if he was going to pay twice. Umar said, of course he's not paying twice. Over there, he shows up with the money and says, who would you like me to pay it? So Umar said that.
he hadn't paid it before, or was it-
That's in that Gemara, he had not paid the payments before.
There was one that he did, so it was convenient for him to say that.
But there, yeah, if he already paid it once, then he can't testify. He wouldn't be able to testify. He already paid it.
That's happened about.
Gemara says, "Achrayas deman." What do you mean? He accepted on himself a guarantee. Ine machrayas de alma. 1 second. Are we talking about over here that Reuven is the partner with Shimon, and he gives the field to Shimon. He gives it all to Shimon. And then he testifies against some outsider that the field belongs to Shimon, together with another witness, that the field belongs to Shimon. So, and when he first gave it to Shimon, he had accepted responsibility. Now, what type of guarantee, what type of responsibility did he accept? If he's accepting responsibility from an outsider, achrayas d'alma, kolshkein denichle, then for sure he wants that. Because if someone else is going to take away this field, some outsider is going to show up, say that this field belongs to him, then he's going to come back to Reuven and say the field was confiscated, and I want you took a guarantee. So of course he wants to testify against an outsider that is stay there because he's going to lose the money directly. So of course he's biased again. How could he testify? So the Gemara answers, rather, he only takes responsibility not from an outsider that comes in. He only takes responsibility from a loss, for the way the field would get lost, something that comes from the other partner himself. So if Reuven had a debt and that creditor shows up to take away the field, and he testifies that the field belongs to Shimon, so when it comes to take it away from Shimon, Shimon comes back to Reuven to collect. Not that Reuven's accepting any outsider, because in the story, there's also Reuven testifying against the outsider. If he has responsibility from the outsider that says that the field's not Shimon's, then how can he testify that the field is Shimon if he's going to come back? So we say that for the outsider, he doesn't have responsibility. He only has responsibility for a creditor that's going to come because of Reuven. And so therefore, when the creditor does come, he takes responsibility that Shimon would be able to come back and collect from him. So he can also testify that the field is Shimon's, because he's anyways going to, whether it's Shimon's or not, he's going to end up losing that money.
It always has to go through a creditor, and the creditor to decide, I want to keep it for myself or give it to Shimon.
So, well, really what's happening here is that there's a property that Reuven is testifying about that it belongs to Shimon. But Reuven is invested that the property belongs to Shimon because Reuven gave the property to Shimon. They were partners. He gave him his share. Now, Reuven wants that when someone's going to come, a creditor is going to come to collect the debt that he himself owed, will collect it from Shimon. Well, yeah, we'll collect it from that property that he now testifies belongs to Shimon. So Reuven is gaining from that. So the Gemara is explaining that he's not really gaining, because Shimon would go back to Reuven and collect the money that Reuven had taken responsibility that if any creditor would ever come because of him, that he would pay for that. All good. Okay. Now the Gemara asks, can a person really disown, just get out of a partnership and then we consider him not biased? We're going to have some proofs over here which are going to show that once you're in a partnership, you can't just get out of it and they say that you're not biased anymore. It says, Tanya, we have a brisa. It says, B'nai Ir sheniknav sefer Torah shalem. Let's say there's a city, and in that city, the sefer Torah was stolen. So they catch the thief, and ain't done him b'dayan here. They can't judge him in the judges of that city. Why? The judges of that, it was their sefer Torah. They were part of it. You also can't bring proof from people in that city because it's theirs. They can't just testify that it's theirs. They're the owners. It belongs to the city. But if, according to the way that you're saying now, that a person can become not biased by just saying that I'm out of here and with together with a Kenyan, right? You can get out of any bias, that we're not going to trust him because maybe he's involved, he has benefit. He can get out of that. What does he have to do? He has to say, Yadi Misaleka Semena with a Kenyan. So then what we should do is we should let the Lisalku Beitre, let two people remove themselves from the partnership, and then let them judge. If you can get out of a partnership by just saying I'm out of here together with the Kenyan, so then why don't we do that? And they can still judge. Mary answers, I'm sorry, I skipped the whole thing. Shani Sefer Torah does Shmiyakai. Over here, we're talking about a Sefer Torah, and a Sefer Torah, they're going to want to listen to the Torah reading. So what do you mean they're going to say, I'm out of here? But they still get to hear it. If the thief takes it, he takes it away. I don't know what he does with it. But he takes it somewhere, and they're not going to be able to hear the Sefer Torah reading. The Torah reading. So he's right. So over here, the reason why, even if they say we're not involved in it, we're not part of the city, but they still get to listen to the Torah reading in the city. So they're still going to get you. It's okay, it's not ours, but we still get to hear the Torah reading. Unless they move to another city. That would be a way out. But when the Gemara is not suggesting that why don't two people move to another city, to take the case to another city. That the Gemara is not suggesting. Okay. Toshima, come and listen. A similar story and a similar answer also. If someone says, Tnu mana livnei iri, give this money to people of my city. And I think the person dies. And they want to come to the inheritors to take it away. A dying man, okay. Ain't done in Bedayani Yosir. They can't get this money from the inheritors by judges of that city. Judges of that city can't judge this case. And and also can't bring proofs, witnesses from that city. The Gemara says, Amai, why not? Why don't we just have two people from the city say that we're not involved in this money and let them judge it? My answer is talking about that money was meant to go for a Sefer Torah, and they're going to be able to hear the Torah reading. So even if they say we're not part of this, but nevertheless, they're still going to benefit. Yeah. Tashima. Come and listen. Someone says, there's also a dying man, says, give money to the poor of my city. And he passes away, and now the judges are trying to extract it from the inheritors. And who are the judges? You can't use judges from that city. And you also can't bring proofs, witnesses from that city. But the Gemara interjects. It says, do you really think that this is an issue? Aniyim Shakli Dayani Mifsali. You have the poor people that are going to take money, and that invalidates the Dayanim. We're assuming here that the Dayanim are not poor. They're not from the poor. The poor people are other people. The Dayanim, I just want the poor to get their money. The Dayanim are not involved in this. Money was supposed to go strictly to the poor. Well, the Gemara answers, the poor Dayanim of that city can't judge it because they're going to end up with that money. That makes sense. The Gemara says, 1 second, why not? We have a simple solution. Why don't we let two people separate themselves from the city, say we're not part of this city, and then they can do the judgment, right? Because they're not involved, but together with a Kenyan for sure. Umar says, we're dealing with the Sefer Torah. Why? This is a little odd. Giving money to the Aniyim, and you tell me that we're dealing with the Sefer Torah. Mm-hmm. When we answer that it's a Sefer Torah, it means that even if he says, I'm not involved in this, he still gets to hear the Torah reading. So they're still going to benefit. The Gemara says, well, but my Karla Aniyim, why are they called poor? says, well, that kolitel sefer Torah aniyim. Everyone is considered poor when it comes to a sefer Torah because everyone needs the sefer Torah. Aniyim just means that they need something. Yeah. You don't have a sefer Torah, then it's Aniyas Gadol who's there. So that's why they're being called Aniyim because they don't have a sefer Torah. Okay.
But even if they had one, like they could sell it.
But
Not
the
supposed
idea here is that there's sefer Torah that's supposed to be going to this group of people. The judges from that group of people are not allowed to judge that the sefer Torah needs to go because they're biased. They say, but why don't they just say that, okay, we're we're not part of that group. Yeah, but they're still going to hear the Torah reading. Even if they don't gain any money from it, but they're still going to get to hear the Torah reading, so they're still considered biased.
Sounds like this is going to become a new marketing slogan for Moshe Druin over there.
Yeah, Moshe, what do you think? If you don't have a Torah, then you're poor. Everyone has to have a sefer Torah.
I need everyone to be rich, not poor.
What is it?
Rich. They get us
I need
there.
everyone to be rich, not poor.
Right. It needs everyone to be rich, he says.
That's my bracha to everyone.
Amen.
Everyone should possess a portion of the sefer Torah. That's not the pshat in this Gemara. Pshat in this Gemara is not that they're going to possess a portion of the sefer Torah. The pshat is that they're going to get to hear the Torah reading. And it's not. We're not dealing with the ownership of it. I know, but we have two people that are separating themselves from that. They're still going to get to hear. What is it saying that everyone should possess it? That's a separate mitzvah to have a sefer. What are you saying? Is it a note or is it a?
Talking bold. First grow anyone who does not possess a share.
Regarding to a Torah scholar, anyone who does not possess a share is considered poor. Torah scholars is a necessity for all and great deficiency if the town does not possess one. Quita aptly applies the term poor to his fellow citizens who lack a Torah skill. Yeah. The word possess is very misleading because what it means is possess not as I own a portion of its value. Possess means that I don't have one or that I'm able to listen to the Torah reading. Not possession as in my bank account just went up or went down. Access. Yeah, that's at least that's the pshat in the Gemara according to the way we're learning it. Okay. Iba Yezema, we can learn this a little different. We could say that we're dealing with sometimes we don't let the students in yeshiva use the art scroll because it's they don't learn the skills. Sometimes they hide an art scroll and they look at something and then they come to ask me, what does this fancy word mean? It's like I'm not answering that question. You go get a dictionary once you're cheating, get a dictionary. Okay. If you want, you can answer this also a little different. We could say that we're dealing with aniyim mamish, actually poor people. Ubani de ramo ale. We're talking about that the responsibility for these poor people, to support these people, falls on the city. So when they testify, the people of the city, you see, we were asking, why should the judges become biased if the poor people are gaining money? We're answering, no, because there's a responsibility on the city to support the poor. The poor people get money, they don't have to give that extra tzedakah because now the poor people just got this big grant, right? So, what's the story? What's the case? Either kitzlahu, if there's a set amount that everyone has to give to the poor fund every year, so then, why don't we have two people give theirs give their portion. Now they're not involved anymore because they already gave, and then let them judge it. We said that the people from that city can't judge. These people aren't involved anymore. They've already paid. So that would be an easy solution. We're talking about that it's not a set amount that every person just pays the yearly sum that's allotted for each person to pay. That's not how it works. Talking about it goes just by need. So if there's a need, then everyone has to pay. If there's no need, then they don't have to pay. So if this grant comes through, if they get this inheritance for the poor that's supposed to go to the poor, so then they're not going to have to pay. So that's why they're considered biased. Really, there is a set amount. That even though there is a set amount, they still benefit. Because when the poor people have extra, then people don't have to give. Even if it is a set amount. They benefit from the surplus. Now, I thought the Gemara was asking that. Why don't they give before and then judge about it? Because when the surplus comes in, so then they'll benefit. They won't collect again, I guess. They'll be able to avoid the next collection. I guess that's what it means. Yeah. Dr. Stein's asking if when Mashiach comes, we're going to give tzedakah. Because everyone's going to have their needs.
We give to the Beis Hamikdash or pay on him, no?
Solomon says I'm going to give to the Kayanim in the Beis Hamikdash. Maybe they don't own land.
We're still like,
Well, Meiser would go to the and Meiserani, you're saying, goes to the poor. What are they going to be poor? Where are you getting this? That there's not going to be poor. Who said that?
Because it says like
Because
the
Madonna
dust
Sim
will be
Gafa.
like diamonds.
Okay, so you'll collect the diamonds and you'll give it to the delicacies.
guy who
You'll give it to the poor.
What are they gonna do with diamonds?
They'll play Kugala. Okay. That's right. Okay.
Oops, there goes attention.
Nas and Shemer Sachazel is that another statement of Shmuel was that partners, besides that they can testify for each other, they also become they can also become Shemer Sacha for each other. So, for example, if one partner says, "I'm going to watch the field," you see, they haven't divided it up yet. That's why they're considered partners. And he says, "When I watch the field, so I'm watching it for you. So, and when you watch, you're watching it for me. So basically, my watching, I'm paying. You're paying for my watching by you watching it tomorrow or whatever at the same time, or however you watch this part, I watch that. Basically, you're paying for it, so you become a shemer sacher. So if something happens, so then you become more liable because you're paying for the watching by you doing your share. Yeah, the watching is the payment for the other person to watch. Okay, the Gemara asks, why is it considered shemer sacher? They should be so pater. Should be all the way to I forget if a shemer chinam is shia b'bailam is pater. Remember the Gemara question. Shia b'bailam. If there's negligence, if they're still responsible, it should be shmir b'bailam. Why? Because while this person's watching it, the other person's watching the other side. Is responsible, even if the owner's there.
It depended if he was taking part.
The owner's even if the owner's taking part.
Usual word. He's exempt.
So you say shmir shia b'bailam is pater.
He's using the item for the normal way.
No, he's negligent.
Oh, then he's responsible.
If even though the owner was with him at the time of the borrowing, that's the question, right? So I think that was the first question there. So whatever the case is, it's shmir b'bailam. Over here, there's a paid watchman, and each one is together with the other person while he's watching. It's supposed to be not while he's watching. It's supposed to be while the watching started. So then he should be exempt from the Geneva Vaveda, from stolen or lost. Amar of Papa. Papa says, to answer this question, it's not actually with him at the time when he is going to watch it. It's going to be with him the following day. So in other words, each one is taking a day, so they're not really, you don't have the owner there together, right? Yeah. The Rashbam has some interesting expressions here, which I don't think fits with the Gemara, the way we learned the Gemara in Bava Metzia. The Rashbam says, the kivan de leishamru biyachad klal ala b'zeh chazeh lekashmir b'bailam. Master Shemer Sachas on the side by incident. Oh no, the Rashbam before. The kivan shayaruvin meshamer mechelek Shimon b'shash nignva ayavad mechelkai b'beis Shimon. Shimon Pater Mechelek Reuven, Reuven Imei b'Malachta. We learned that it didn't have to do with if he was with them at the time of the accident or the time of the stolen or lost. Only at the time when the watching started. That's what we learned. The Rashbam is saying that. Taisus is more careful with that.
So you're saying only from the time that was stolen, not necessarily started watching.
The Rashbam seems to say that if he's there at the time when it was stolen, he should be exempt. But it needed to be more than that. It needed to be at the time.
First one was like if he was present.
If he's present at the time of the borrowing, it didn't have to do with the time of the theft. It had to do with the time of borrowing, right? Yeah, so the Rashbam says that it has to do with the time of theft. I'm not sure what he means. I didn't look in the commentaries. I'm sure the commentaries.
Right. That's what the notes says. Be brave.
Each partner has verbally agreed to watch the contract. Yeah, what he's saying is that's another question that was not really relevant to this. That's the question is that if they're agreeing to watch, if they're agreeing to it together, then that should be considered Shmir B'Bailam anyway. He says no, they're not really agreeing together. That each one is agreeing to do it a different day, so it's not considered like they're starting the watching right away. Okay, Taner Rabbanan, start in a brisa. Machalei bias, machalei sada. Someone sells a field to his friend, sells a house to his friend. So then the halacha is ein meid layalam neshachar yuselav. You can't testify against an outsider that's coming in saying, "Hey, what are you doing in that property? That's mine." He can't come along. The seller can't come along and testify as a witness that it belongs to the purchaser because he's biased. The guy's going to come back to him if it gets confiscated from the purchaser. He's going to go back to the seller. So the seller is biased. He can't testify. Machalei para, machalei talis. Let's say he sells him a cow. He sells him a talis. Then the halacha is the opposite. Meid leila neshein achrayis alav. Then he can testify because there is no responsibility there. The Gemara says, "Ma'ishna reisha, ma'ishna seifa." Why did we have to change from a house to a field, to a cow, to a talis? The whole point of this is just, is there achrayas or there's no achrayas? You didn't have to change. Achrayas means guarantee or responsibility. You don't have to change the story. The halacha is the opposite. But the reason why the halacha is opposite has to do with, did you take responsibility? Did you guarantee it or not? Is there a warranty on it? Rav Sheshes says, Reisha, first case where he says that he's biased, can't testify, is Beruben. This is a really complex story. Beruben shegazal Sodom Shimon. Okay, Reuben is now the thief. He steals the property from Shimon and Machal Levi. So who's the original owner? Shimon. Reuben is the thief. steals the property and he sells it to Levi. But also Yehuda become Ma'ar. Yehuda comes to Levi, he says, Levi, what are you doing in my field? This is my field. Now, who's the real owner? It was Shimon. Or
We
Yehuda.
don't know yet.
Or Yehuda. Shimon was the real owner and Reuben is the thief. So there's three possible owners here. Reuben doesn't own it. Levi owns it. It's either Levi's, Shimon, or Yehuda. So comes along Reuben, that's already already sold it to Levi, and no, Reuben is not involved in this. The Lezel Shimon, you would think Reuben would be the one to come in and testify, but Reuben, and the Gemara is not suggesting that. We're suggesting that Shimon, that wasn't involved in the sale, he can't come in and testify, Lasad Leila Levi, to testify against Yehuda and say that it belongs to Levi. Why? The Nichale, the Hadra, because he wants it to go back to it's easy for him to take it back from Levi, I guess. Yes, that's what it means. Is that how they translate over there? Nichale la Hadra? Nichale means it's easy for it to be returned.
To court to fight for Levi because it is preferable for Shimon that the field be returned to Levi.
Oh, to be returned to Levi. Okay.
Later, yeah.
So that
Yeah,
so
because then he can
which is the
collect it.
bold? That he can later collect it from him is in bold, or that
No,
it
no.
returned to Levi is in
Return to
bold?
Levi.
Okay. Nichle lahadra, that hadra means to return. That could mean that it returns to Levi or that it returns back to him after it goes to Levi. But both of those are there. The question is what the wording of the Gemara is.
And gave it to
And he sold it
Levi.
to Levi.
So where does
Shimon was the original owner. He's
where
the
does Yehuda
nigzal.
come in?
Yehuda is an outsider that says the field
The
is
whole
not
thing
none of
is-
yours. It's mine.
You're old. Got enough.
No, he's saying Ruben was one of those fake people that they believed it was his field. And Ruben was out of town, sold it to.
No, Shimon had it. It wasn't even his.
Oh, so
Oh,
So
Shimon
it was
was the
stole.
fake
It
guy.
was a gunner and a gunner. Someone stole it from a thief. And it was
So it
mine in the
wasn't-
first.
We don't
place.
know. We don't know who the original owner is. If it's Shimon or
Shimon or
Yehuda. Reuben stole
way,
it and
Levi.
sold it. Now Levi's in the field. So Shimon is fighting against Yehuda, so he says he testifies that it's not
So-
Yehuda's,
so
he testifies that it's
If it
Levi's.
wasn't Yehuda's story, and if the owner.
Shimon would just go to
Shimon-
Levi and
Shimon
take it
could
back.
just go to Levi. Is
Take it back if he can prove that.
that how it works? American law? also?
Well,
You still need-
the one that original owner would
Could
take
he go
it back.
to, could he go to like the person the thief sold it to?
Yeah, I think so. Right? If you have stolen goods, you can't take it back if you because you purchased it.
Title insurance.
No, not a home, just like, I had like a story in my. The building I lived, someone stole some car. And sold the parts. Took out like all the internal parts.
And then he has to pay the tuition.
No, but the parts don't go. You don't take it away from the purchaser. I bought socks in the subway station in New York.
Never buy
these guys.
socks in the sub.
You know, they open it up on the
Socks or
socks or
watches.
belts or something. They open up these carpets and then they all of a sudden like, they
Roll
roll it up and run away.
They have charged.
If you buy
So-
stolen merchandise.
Can they come and take it from me?
Yes.
Yeah, they can take it off your feet.
Charge.
Yeah.
Careful in the mix.
It's right off the-
Okay.
Without taking- No, without taking off shoes. That's how they do it.
So the Gemara says, one second. Why the Gemara is like challenging. Why would Shimon testify that it belongs to Levi when he doesn't want it to belong to Levi? He is messing his own case up. When he does that testimony, he was not going to be able to take it back. How's he ever going to get it out of Levi's possession if he just testifies that it belongs to Levi? I know they have a common enemy, Yehuda, but he still can't support Levi.
It's not help.
It's not going to help him. Says the Amar, the Gemara answers, he says, Yadana dahayara delav Yehuda. All I know is that it's not Yehuda's. I'm not saying that it's Levi's. I'm just saying that it's not Yehuda's. Okay, so then he can go and argue with Levi. But who's the chusa the kamapik Levi lafkam Yehuda? When the Gemara says, one second. So if he's going to be able to get it out of Levi, because he's going to bring witnesses, he's going to bring documents. So why doesn't he just do that from Yehuda and take it directly? Why does he have to first put it into Levi's hands? And then he's going to take it from him. He says, well, the Amar Asheni Nayachli Harisha and Kashe Mena. He says, Levi is easy for me to deal with. He's an Edel guy. Yehuda is a real fighter. It's going to be too difficult. So, yeah, he's a litigious. Litigious? Litigious? How do you pronounce it? How do you pronounce it? Litigious. Litigious. Yeah, so he doesn't want to deal with Yehuda. He wants to deal with Levi. Iba same. Yeah. Says Yehuda's lawyer is Yitzi Liebensberger. He doesn't want to deal with that. Okay. This is a test to see if Yitzi watches it. Iba same going to Isli Sadi Lamar Visli Sadi Lamar. Or we can say like this. You have a problem. Shimon has a problem. Shimon has witnesses and Yehuda has witnesses. Now, what's going to happen is, if there's ever a conflict between Shimon and Yehuda, it's going to be a stalemate. It's going to be a kol dalam gvar. And Shimon doesn't want to be in that situation where his witnesses against these witnesses, or something like that, where conflicting witnesses, they cancel each other out and then they have to fight it out. Shimon doesn't want to enter into that. So first he wants to destroy Yehuda before he even starts the case. And then he'll be able to deal with Levi. So that's what the Gemara says. From Rabbanan, the kaima taken, because what happens over there is that whoever has possession of the property is where it's going to stay, and that could be it's going to end up by Yehuda. So he doesn't want to deal with that. So he wants to first get it out of Yehuda, and then he can deal with Levi. Okay, let's leave it over here, exactly on the bottom of the page.
We're